the next topic I want to get into is building a support system. So, what support systems have you built here at Union so far? Do you feel like there's is it trouble? Is it hard to do that here? Adjusting as a freshman, other students, coaches, or family, or even counselors that you have here at Union?
Do you want to go?
Oh, okay.
I think something we were talking about is like it is like really hard being an athlete in season that like we don't really like have like friends outside of the team because we don't have time to like go out and meet other people outside of the team. So we always joke about like, oh, like we're each other's only friends, like, but like seriously, like I don't think like I don't know, like I relate to these girls the most. Like they're my teammates and my best friends. Like they're the people I want to hang out with. And I think that it's just a really important connection to have in general. I think support system wise, you do like it's your team for right now in season. I'm sure that'll change like outside of season when we can, go out and, outside of classes. So as of right now, that is my support system. Same with my family, just like making sure that you like even like one phone call a week, just like staying involved with your parents and your siblings or whoever it may be. They're always going to be your number one fans and your support system, like making sure that you're still okay, after like a bad test because it is different, you're not going home to them every day. So It's very important to keep, stay in touch. It'll make things a lot harder for you if you don't keep in touch and put that extra effort into, give them a phone call or a text every day.
Yeah. I think it could be kind of hard to find a support system too outside of your team. Our coach personally has given us a lot of resources with Wicker, Title IX, and a few others, but I think that was really nice coming and seeing like, there are people you can talk to. There's Doc Wally, the sports psychiatrist that coach encourages us to see. And I think having the team is a great support system. It can be kind of nerve-wracking, like that they're all so busy, they're all so struggling, like everyone's, it's a lot and you don't kind of want to reach out. But it's guaranteed that if you reach out, someone will definitely have your back. And there's always someone to talk to, which is nice because we spend so much time together. And there may be a student that doesn't play a sport here that doesn't really know who to reach out to. So I think it's nice to have all the resources given to us here.
I know, for being an athlete, it's difficult because you feel like you're involved with these players, with all your teammates, and that's your clique, that's your friend group. And then I know, coming from experience, winter and spring, you'll be able to branch out a little bit. You won't be as tied down with football, with your sport, and you'll be able to make those connections. But it's definitely nerve-wracking, like you said. I feel like for a football team, we have mentors, like kind of like big brothers. I'm not sure if the field hockey team does that, but I know coming in. My mentor was Griffin Woolner, great guy. Went to him with about 1 million questions throughout the entire first year. I still text him, say what's up. He graduated. But I know, and I have been a mentor to freshmen as well coming up the past 2 years. So I feel like that's a big thing you want someone to have in your corner just in case. And they are going through the same thing, being going through practices, having, taking 3 classes at a time and being busy, but they'll always have your back no matter what. You're always going to have that person to have your back. So
yeah, definitely with football, especially like Coach Poppy is really big into making sure everyone has someone to talk to. So we had a meeting with Doc Wally a couple times, and then especially like kids on the team, they're always willing to talk or like answer any questions as well. Especially like the mentor meetings you were saying, they were really helpful. Like make sure you know your classes, you're doing good with your grades. If you have any questions with that, but my biggest what's it called is my parents. They're always there for me. Always one phone call away.
That's true.
They're always they're my biggest support, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember my first time being away from my parents. Coming in the freshman fall was very difficult. Because like you said, you're not going home to them at the end of the day. I spent a month away from them all of August, and then I was lucky that my parents would be able to come up some weeks for games. But they're always phone call away, and just sometimes you need to call and vent or just check on things, how you doing. Or sometimes if you have a bye week or the next couple turns, you're able to go home if you could. I want to talk about a little bit how your parents stay involved. Is it, being a freshman and you're kind of alone, how is it kind of facing it by yourself? Do you feel like you're being more independent and as an adult being on your own, but do you still feel like you want to be home because you need to be home or just a family connection?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, like being here with no one else on campus, there were times when we had our short little breaks before our second sessions that I was like, I would love to be home in my own bed right now, have my mom cook a nice meal, be with my brothers. But as time went by and I started getting that structure, still, there were times I really want to go home, but I think I've grown a lot, even though it's only been 2 months here.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very independent household, so I think that helped a lot. But right now I know, like, I need to, or like when to do kind of adult things, like when to do my laundry, when I know I have to do my work, I have to eat. Like, I kind of have grown as a person with just the simple little things that I wouldn't really think would affect as much. But yeah, I think we're all kind of growing, and with the structure of the sport too, you're kind of learning to do multiple things at once, which will be good for the future.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very different, but it's also like so exciting at the same time. Like, you know, like you're going back to your own little apartment at the end of the day. Like, you're getting groceries. Like, you're just like, everything's on you, and it is pressure, definitely. Like, you know, if you sleep through a class, like, that's on you. If you don't want to eat, that's on you. Like, if you don't want to do your homework again, like, that's on you. You need to prioritize yourself, and you need to get to know yourself. But I also think that you grow closer and you find like so much independence within yourself, because everything is your decision. You make your own decisions. You know, your mom or your dad or whoever isn't there for you to like right by your side to be like, you need to do this, this, and this. But for me, it definitely was extremely hard, because my parents and I are extremely close. They're my best friends, and they know everything I've ever gone through, like, in high school. And I feel like when it's very easy to not maintain that connection and that closeness, because being an athlete, you're just so busy. You're not thinking about how homesick you are and like processing emotions, because, you know, you're waking up at 6 a.m. to go work out, and then you're eating, and then you're doing all these team bonding activities, and you don't think about it. And then, you know, like a month later, when we finally are done with preseason and we're you know, in our normal schedule that's a little bit more manageable, you're like, oh my gosh, like, I really miss my parents. But again, I've been so grateful that my family can come up, you know, some weekends to watch my games, and I've seen them then. But yeah, I definitely miss them a lot every day. But it's just, you know, you grow closer to people that feel like family, and, you know, those people on your team, they become like your new mom. Like, you just go to them for everything, and I feel like that's a really great connection to have.
Yeah, I think also that, being away from them, that when you do get to see them, you kind of cherish it more. Yeah, so both my parents came to our game yesterday, and I haven't seen them since move-in day, and it was just so nice to just be with them. They brought my dog. It was like, great. I had such a great day with them, and it's so nice to, like, have that little break in a way.
Definitely. Like, I always thought I was very independent throughout high school and stuff like that. But like you were saying, like, cherishing your parents, like, back then, you know, you wouldn't do something with them. You'd rather go hang out with your friends or do something. But now that you really can't see them all the time, you do cherish those times you get to see them. But I also think it's a good thing that I'm farther away from, like, family and stuff like that. So now I have to do my own thing, make sure I do my laundry or get food or go to class, do my homework. It's really regulating, like, my stuff for me to get ready for when I move out. And
the real world.
Yeah, get ready for the real world.
I feel like a lot of people underestimate the dishes that you have to do and laundry that comes into it. You know, finding your schedule and then being in a dorm, and, you know, there's no dryers open. Or I know I live in Wells House, and we have one washer and dryer. With about maybe a little under 20 people, a little bit less in the house, so it gets pretty hectic. You gotta work out a certain schedule. But I want to talk about cherishing those moments with your parents. I know coming as freshmen, when my parents would come to games, I know we'd go out to dinner. Like, we would go out to dinner, we'd go to Panera. You know, quick and easy. Like, they gotta drive back. But I loved it. It was a thing I would look forward to all week long. Be like, no, my parents are coming, and go out. You know, just being able to say hi, just talk for like 30 minutes. Just, you know, like nothing's changed. I'm still at home. You still hold on to those things. Or you go back to high school, and it's like, all right, I'm going out. You know, I'll see you later. You're counting for that. They're gonna be there forever. But, you know, put that distance. It's bittersweet. You know, you want to be home, but also it's important going on to be individual, you know, be able to handle yourself on your own and going forward. So next thing I want to talk about is, do you feel that there is a stigma on mental health for student athletes? Is it overlooked or is it underlooked?
Yeah. I feel like student athletes, there's a higher chance that they'll have some sort of mental illness due to how much pressure you're going under. Like, having a sport, having academics, you have one extra added thing than someone who doesn't play a sport has, you know? Like, it can be very hard to balance all that. And if you have a bad coach or you have some bad teammates, you're around them all the time. Like, that will really put a number on you. We're very lucky not to have that, but I feel like as the years have gone by, there has been a strong stigma in mental health in athletes, and it's getting better, but oh my god, I keep spacing out.
You're good.
Someone else should go.
Do you want me to go and you can build off if
Yes.
you want to just like tap me or something?
Yes.
Okay.
You're good.
I think mental health is extremely noticeable in athletes in particularly. I think it's very easy to, be in a depressive state or just kind of get your self-worth and your no self-validation, because as an athlete, like, I get my validation through sports, and if I'm not performing well and if I have a coach telling me that I'm not performing well, then, that's kind of like double the like negativity going on in my brain. And like, we talked about this, we had a meeting with sports psychiatrist the other day, and she was telling us like you need 7 positive thoughts to balance out 1 negative thought or 1 negative opinion of yourself. And 7 to 1, that's a pretty different ratio, and that's hard to kind of get through your head. And I know growing up I've had extremely negative experiences with coaches, very like degrading coaches that told me my self-worth and told me that I was bad or not good enough. And it's just very mental. If you're like being sat or if you're not being played is extremely mental, and you need to know that you're good enough and that it's just a situation, and sometimes that's extremely hard to be aware of. We're very, very fortunate that we do have an amazing coach, and she's never degraded us for anything. Like the other day, we couldn't figure out a drill, and we're doing it for like 30 minutes and none of us could figure it out. And like, I was just getting so anxious because I've been so used to being screamed at. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna have to run now. Like, we're gonna have to run. Like, I was just like getting so anxious, and she like blew the whistle, and we were all like, oh my god. And then she was like, guys, like, it's okay to make mistakes. Like, that's good. She was like, it's hard, it's a hard drill, like, let's all acknowledge that. Like, that's okay, like, we're gonna move on. And like, that was honestly shocking to me. Like, I was just like, wait, what? Like, I've never had that experience before. And then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, wait, that's kind of sad. Like, why am I like so anxious right now and freaking out on the inside that I'm about to have to go do like sprints until everyone throws up, like things like that.
It's okay.
Like, it's okay. Like, everyone makes mistakes. Like, no one's being judged on if they understand a drill or not, where in sports I see that happening a lot. And I think that I'm so happy that there's like games going on like Morgan's Message or like different domestic violence awareness things going on, and it's getting a rise out of the news. But it shouldn't take like famous athletes' suicides to bring that attention to mental health. It should just be a thing, and it should be prioritized. It shouldn't cost someone's life in the news, like Morgan's Message, that whole organization, to spark an interest in people to get to be like, oh my gosh, like, athletes have so much going on and there's so much pressure on them, and like, we do need that one off day. We do need to talk to people. Like, we're not like super strong people that go to the gym every day and like we don't care about emotions, because in reality we're the people that care the most about other people's opinions.
I feel like athletes are more prone to suffer in silence because you don't want to be a burden to someone. You're so used to like being in a competition, having all this pressure on you, that when something is going on in your life and something you are struggling, you have to reach out, but there's a feeling that you don't want to or you can't because you feel like, oh, that's not normal for me. I'm an athlete. I should cover this myself. But in reality, like, I feel athletes do need a lot of help, especially if you do have a bad coach. Some people aren't as fortunate.
Yeah.
If you do have bad teammates, it can be very difficult to get through that yourself.
Yeah, I like that you were saying that people are like, don't grab those resources, because at least people are more open about it now. So our coaches definitely try giving out more resources, more stuff about more understanding. But there's like a stigma around it, I believe, where people don't want to be a burden, like you were saying, or go and reach out for it. Because I've spoken to a couple of people, and their biggest like I never would have figured that they were going through things like the same thing I was going through. Until I actually asked them, and then they were going through the same thing. They told me their process and what they were doing to get it better, but it's kind of like they were doing it on their own. They weren't asking for any help or opening up to anyone. I feel like that's the worst part about it. Some people really don't have any resources that they truly want to go to, or this because they believe the stigma is overlooking it. Like, even this podcast, I wanted to do it at first, but then I was kind of worried, like, what some people were going to say or think, But I think the biggest thing is just opening up out of that stigma and just really expressing it, because there's definitely some people who are definitely too scared to do this.
Yeah.
And now they see, like, I'm doing it, you guys are doing it, that you're even doing
Yeah.
this podcast, and they're going to be willing to open up.
Exactly. I mean, the whole point of this podcast is kind of shed light on mental health awareness for student athletes. You know, go understand that myself, I struggle with a lot being an athlete and going through it and not feeling like I could talk about it or like, hey, it's, you know, it's not a big deal. Just keep going. You know, you're going to be all right. You're going to figure it out. And I finally got to the point where it's like, you know, going every day is like, I'm not happy with myself and I need to do something to go forward. It's going to start affecting other things in my life. And sometimes you got to make that change. You got to adjust to it and talk to people and reach out. And one of the things I liked about doing this podcast is I'm able also to talk out things that I've gone through, and I'm able to hear other people, and, you know, it's a safe space. We're trying to create a conversation, you know, light that it's okay, you know, like the whole thing we were talking about, like with drills, it's okay to mess up. There's issues. You're going to be all right and go through forth in life and do well. So going forward for the next thing, we'll open the floor if we have any questions at all. You guys, topics you want to talk about real quick for the end. So the floor is open. Want to make sure you guys are heard and you know, get out, because at the end of the day, this podcast is for athletes, or, you know, for athletes to get their story out. So
I think as like growing up as a really competitive athlete, and it's really easy to make being an athlete your whole identity, and it's really hard when you get injured and, you know, not being able to be an athlete, and then you're kind of like in this dark space where it's like, oh, like what am I? Like, I don't have anything to offer but this specific sport. And I think that's really hard. Kind of like my story is that I grew up from like 2 years old, I started playing ice hockey, and, you know, my team went to nationals and we were really competitive, and, you know, I was like 13 years old and my whole team was committing to Harvard, you know, BC, BU, and that pressure at such a young age is very hard to navigate. And I've had extremely, you know, mental coaches and very poor experiences with ice hockey. And I grew up, you know, I was going through the college process of being an ice hockey player. Like, I was never even considering playing field hockey in college. Like, I've only known ice hockey my whole life. And then I was like I was like verbally like starting to commit to a school for ice hockey, and I like sat down and I was like, if I play like one more, you know, year of ice hockey, like, will I be okay? And then the answer was no. And I was very depressed, and I was very like, I was like, no, like, I can't play ice hockey in college. Like, this is not for me. I'm not happy, you know, playing it. But then I was like, then what am I going to do? Like, I've played ice hockey every single day, like, of my life since, like, I could remember. Like, what am I going to be? And I was talking to my coach about this, you know, having conversation, and she was like, you need to play field hockey. Like, you're going to love it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, that doesn't sound like me. And then, you know, like, it was junior year, I played club, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was on the field hockey team freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school, but I never took it seriously. It was just kind of something fun I did because all the ice hockey girls were playing it, and, you know, it was a thing to do. So I was like, it was always my fun sport, and it was always my quiet sport where no one could tell me who to be, what to do. You know, I was figuring out on my own. Like, I would just kind of run around, like, be happy, and, like, I've had all these happy memories associated with field hockey, and my coach is like, you need to just give it a shot, like, be competitive, like, you know, go to a showcase, you know, like, see what happens. So I just, you know, threw myself in a showcase, and I started talking to, you know, Coach Kelly and some other coaches, and I was like, this is what I want to do, this is what I love. So my advice to other people would be, like, don't be scared. Like, I think there's a lot of stigma that if you do one sport, it has to be that sport, you know, throughout your whole life. And you have to go to college for it because maybe you're scared your parents will be mad because they've spent so much money on you doing a sport, or you've been training your whole life for it, but it's okay for a change. And if I, you know, stuck out my dreams and I went to college to play ice hockey, I don't think I wouldn't be nearly as happy as I am today. I wouldn't be content with myself. I would be really, really struggling. And, you know, making that switch to field hockey has just been the biggest change in my life, and it's been the best change in my life.
Yeah. Just like Reese, I grew up very into sports. I have two brothers, also very into sports. It was always kind of my escape, and I played all throughout high school, or all throughout my life. I played lacrosse, ice hockey, and field hockey. But my junior year of high school, it hit, and I struggled a lot. Personally, I struggled with a relationship with food that ended up me having to quit ice hockey and lacrosse. and I also had coaches in those two sports which were just not supportive. I wanted to get help. They weren't very. They just weren't there for me in a way that my field hockey coach was. And my piece of advice is to anyone listening is that if you need help, get the help you need, because it was the best decision I made. I didn't want to get help for a bit. I was like, why? Like, I don't need it. But talking to someone, talking to sports psychiatrists, talking to therapists, to teammates, like, it really does help. And I'm so glad I got it, and I'm so glad that I found my passion for sports again. And just, like, it's okay to struggle. You're going to have a bad day. Not every day is going to be perfect. And it's the bad days that do make the good days, because they just make you feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like one thing, going back, is so I recently stepped away from the football team. So my biggest thing was, am I going to be okay in a year to keep doing this? Am I going to be all right,
Mm-hmm.
And I have been playing sports all my life. Been playing football is my favorite sport, my big sport. And it was a hard decision, because it's like, it almost becomes that personality, your identity. It's like, this is all you do.
Yeah.
And now I'm figuring out life without it. And it's been nice, and I'm incredibly happy with my decision. And I've been able to kind of relax and be able to do other things, focus on this podcast, and kind of just enjoy going to school, being a student. And it's, my right decision. Everyone's situation is different, and you have to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, I wish I could have still played. I could still be playing, but I had to make that right decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think an important point is that some of the coaches, not everyone's a good person. Some people have different motives, different things, and having the right coach behind you, pushing you in the correct direction, like pointing you towards field hockey, or, finding the help that you need. Those are certain things that can make or break a student athlete's, playing career, or day to week.
Mm-hmm.
It really is important on how the people around you, the people you keep close to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think as a student athlete, the most important thing that I thought of when I was quitting a few sports was, what is everyone going to think of me as an athlete? Like, I'm not a 3-sport athlete anymore. Like, are they going to think I'm lame? Or are they going to think I'm pathetic for quitting this sport? Just in general, what are they going to think of me? And I think a lot of athletes do feel like that when they are making these decisions. But at the end of the day, it's for me. I'm the only one I'm the most important person in my life. Like, I need to put myself first, and getting help again was just the best decision I made for my athlete self.
Making this decision, Coach Poppy, I spoke with a lot on trying to work through what I was going through. And one of the things he said to me that I don't think I'll ever forget is, no one knows how it is to walk through your shoes.
Yeah.
You walk a mile in your own shoes. No one knows how you're going on the inside. You might act good on the outside, but on the inside, you're dealing with certain things that people just don't see. And if you're struggling and you feel like you need to make a change, you have to trust yourself to make the change. You can't worry about what other people are going to say. And I know I worry about all the time what other people are going to say. What do I do? Stepping away, is it a bad decision? Am I making the wrong decision? People, looking at it. But that was a big thing that stuck with me is, you walk through your own shoes, and you know what it is to go through a day as yourself.
And I think part of that is, finding time to get to know yourself and really reflecting on what makes you happy and what makes you, not happy, because most of the time, athletes are just going through the sport because they feel like they need to, and that's the only thing they've ever done. But in reality, it's like, do you know what makes you happy, and is this, altering your life in a negative aspect more than it is in a positive one? And I think it's important to, have those hobbies and have those opinions and, find out what you are very adamant on. Like Amy and I, we really are looking forward to raising awareness about, sexual assault and domestic violence and, mental health in general. And those are aspirations that we have. And, we're going to look for any opportunity we can get to, further awareness on those subjects. And I think we wouldn't have known that about each other if, we didn't reach out that one text or had that one conversation about something that we were both so passionate about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just finding what you are excited to speak about is very important too.
Yeah, the one thing I like to add to that is, no matter how low you are, whether it's an injury or something like that, the only way to go is up.
Yep.
So no matter how negative or low you are at that moment, the only thing that can happen is something positive.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to keep building up off those positives, and then eventually you're going to be back at a place where you feel good and confident about yourself, or whatever it is.
Exactly, that's a great point. So is there anything you tell yourself for an incoming athlete to Union College to, a little bit of advice, look forward to, be careful? kind of just a little advice.
I said this before, but I think it's so important that it's okay to have bad days.
Yeah.
It's okay to be at a low. It's okay to struggle. It's normal to struggle, especially with this big packed schedule. But again, the only way, you can only go up from there. Little positive things, making sure to reach out, and always putting yourself first. Don't worry about what other people think, because at the end, they're not even thinking about you. It's just what's in your head. So just put yourself first and know your limits, know what you can do.
I would say, like, whatever you're going through, just trust that someone else on the team is going through the exact same thing, and you're never going to be alone. You know, you're never going to feel like you're not going to have someone to talk to, but a big part of that is, you know, having that one conversation with the teammate, you know, having that, you have to be very brave, and, you know, it could be very, like, frightening, but just, like, speaking up and saying that one thing that's been on your mind, you know, you're going to have a lot more connections to people than you think.
Yeah, like branching off that, definitely go out and talk to people, like people you wouldn't even normally think could be your friend or could end up being your best friend, especially at those free times during camp when you're eating or something.
Yeah.
Go have conversations. Don't be afraid to go talk to someone or anything like that, because no one there is going to be like, hey, leave, or anything like that. Always be open and kind and all that stuff.
That's true. Yeah, you're never alone. Even though sometimes that might be how you feel, you're never alone. Somebody's going through the same exact thing somewhere else, or even on a team or somewhere across the country. You know, you're never alone with that. Speaking of that, you're never alone. I want to address the places on campus that you can reach for help. If you do need, Doc Wally, sports psychologist, I believe his office is down in the basement of alumni. If you guys do need, or anyone else listening, he's a great man and will lead you in the right direction if you need help. Also, at Wicker Wellness Center, you have the Epler Wolf Counseling Center, where you can sign up for a therapist if you do need. They also provide private areas where you can go and quiet, relax, you know, do work, or if you just need to be by yourself for a little bit, and then you could rent those times. But never forget your friends. You know, doesn't matter if you know them, you don't know them, friends or enemies. A lot of people you'll be surprised about the amount of people that will help you, no matter what situation is. You know, just being able to talk to somebody. I hope you guys would all reach out to me if you need something, and I would reach out to you if you guys ever need anything. Family's important, like we said. Never forget your family, and they're always a call away. Or, you know, term's almost over now, so you get to go home for a little bit. And, so, you guys have any other last things to say?
Don't forget about the dogs at Wicker Wellness Center.
Don't forget about the therapy dogs at Wicker Wellness Center. Yeah, that is great too. I still haven't done that yet.
I haven't
I
either.
did.
I went once.
Wait, do you have to sign up, or do you just go?
Coach
You
in
can go
King
there.
Charles.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just sign them up for 30 minutes, take them on a
Yeah,
walk.
or an hour. Yeah, you can just go. I've always seen them, like, if I had to go to Wicker for something. And also, I went to a doctor's appointment a week or two ago, and I just spent like 10, 15 minutes with the dog. At the end, I think it was Ace. I just sat on the floor, just petting him.
It's
so
the little things.
it's the little things that matter, always. The little things that matter. So that's it. This concludes our second episode. I want to thank you guys for coming out and extend the invitation if you guys ever want to come back, or if we'll do something in the future. Just let me know, and I'll reach out to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
thanks,
you.
guys.